Good morning. I'm Fernando Pereira. I'm currently a professor in the Department of Computer Science of the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Brazil. There I do research in compilers. Today I will talk a bit about job opportunities in compilers here in Brazil. The job of a compiler expert is to make information systems more efficient and safer, without having to buy new hardware and without having to rewrite code. In this effort, we build bridges between programming languages and computer architectures. I will tell you today where some of our graduates are working. They got either a master or a PhD at the Compilers Lab, or spent time there doing research as undergraduate assistants. In the Compilers Lab, we do research to ensure that these bridges that I mentioned before between languages and machines be efficient, safe, and correct. Today we have a vibrant group of students and professors doing research in the field. And we are always open to receive new students at the graduate and undergraduate levels. As you will see, most of the jobs that our alumni get are in the industry, and the lab is strongly linked to the industry indeed. Several of our projects have been supported by private companies. For instance, Intel has sponsored several projects in software security in the lab. LG has sponsored several projects about automatic code parallelization for smartphones. And NVIDIA has also made donations to the lab. Today, they even use one of the techniques that we have developed, the divergence analysis. Compilers have always been a source of good jobs. It might not look like it, but some of the best jobs in computer science involve working in compilers. We in the Compilers Lab are always getting emails from people looking for a specialized workforce. For instance, this is an email that I got from a friend who today works at Apple. He worked at Apple at the time. Now he has moved actually and he works at Facebook. Notice that I will be showing these kinds of announcements every now and then in this presentation. I will not be reading them. If you want, you can simply stop the video and read them over. Anyways, today one of our alumni, Marcelo Novaes, works at Apple. And this is another job offer, this time from Intel. Again, just stop the video and take a look if you are curious about the skills that they are looking for at Intel. And here goes an offer that we received this year, 2020, from a friend who works at ARM in Cambridge, England. Indeed, several of our ex-students today work in a lot of cool places. Some of them work directly with compilers, others develop large computational systems. Two of our alumni, for instance, work at ARM in Cambridge. Remember that offer that I mentioned before? We have 3 graduates working at Microsoft in Seattle today, and 2 students more have gotten offers, so next year they will be 5. Microsoft is one of the companies that invests the most in compilers, by the way. Several cool programming languages like C#, F#, and others were designed there. You might have noticed that all the students mentioned thus far work outside Brazil. We could imagine that the Brazilian market cannot absorb our students. However, that's simply not true. More than half our alumni work in Brazil today, even if they work for international companies. There are big companies in Brazil that hire people with compiler skills. For instance, here you can see an offer, in Portuguese, that we received from IBM in early 2019. Today, one of our ex-students work there. Again, if you want to read the announcement over, just stop the video. You may use Google Translator to understand what's going on there. Notice that not all our students will be working directly with compilers. For instance, 5 of them work at Google Brazil. In this case, not in compilers, but the fact is that they are so well trained with systems programming that they end up becoming excellent programmers. Not many people will know so well languages like C++, Go, and Rust, and their internals, for instance. But what I really want to show is that we have several graduates working in foreign companies that hire in Brazil and that are specialized in compilers and static analysis. Several of these companies donate to the Compilers Lab so that we can do research for them. and they hire students to work here, like in home office, and pay them with like foreign currency. To give you an idea of what our ex-students do, I've selected 4 of them. I will show parts of interviews that they have given at some point. The texts are long, but you don't have to read them all. If you want, just stop the video and then check what each student had to say. This is Caio. Today he works at Igalia in the implementation of JavaScript core. This is the JavaScript engine used in WebKit, which in turn is used at Safari, which is Apple's browser. And here we have Guilherme Leobas. Guilherme works at Quansight in the implementation of several technologies related to Python, such as NumPy, PyTorch, and Numba. Numba is a just-in-time compiler for Python. This is Pedro Caldeira, another alumni from the Compilers Lab. Today he works at IBM, mostly adapting GCC to support new types of hardware used by IBM. And here we have Hugo Souza, who works at Cyro. Cyro is a fast-growing startup that provides data security tools. Hugo developed several technologies to read and process logs of databases in real time using several compilation techniques in this process. And maybe you are wondering why students get good compiler jobs in Brazil. After all, Brazil is not really well known for basic software. But that's not really true. There are several important systems related to programming languages that have been developed in Brazil, or for Brazilians. For instance, we have Lua, one of the most popular programming languages in the world. Certainly the most popular under the equator. It was developed at PUC Rio in the early 90s. And there is Elixir, a programming language created by José Valim to implement distributed and concurrent systems. It has been among the most loved languages in the opinion poll at Stack Overflow. And maybe you don't know, but one of the key developers of HHVM, the virtual machine from Facebook, is Guilherme Ottoni, who is a Brazilian graduate from Unicamp. Today he works at Facebook and lives in California. And in terms of hiring a specialized workforce, Brazil has some advantages. First, we have lots of free universities offering computer science courses that are quite good actually. And then there is the time zone that's good for American companies. The time difference to Europe or Asia from the United States is much smaller, so that helps with a home office. And finally, there is the currency. Well, unfortunately, our currency, real, has been losing value to dollars for many years. This is a pity to our internal market. However, that's good to export workforce, for it becomes much cheaper for foreigners to pay for services in Brazil. The thing is that labor force specialized in compilers is rare and very important. That's why our alumni always get good jobs after they graduate. Compilers are very fundamental in a way, because in a large scale, every % of performance improvement matters. That's the motto of Robert Hundit, who is a compiler engineer at Google. And like François Boudin once told me, we don't really need that many compiler guys, but those that we need them badly. So even though there are not lots of open positions, those that are open need to be filled, and it's hard to find good compiler engineers out there. So that was an overview of job opportunities in compilers in Brazil. If you study at UFMG and want to learn more about compilers, do know that our lab always has some scholarship to offer. So pay attention in the announcement and feel free to write me with questions in case you are interested.